Here we go. Wrestling with a Business podcast, episode 66. We're back at it, January 22nd. His name is Jeremy. His name is Matt. I'm Dan. Kicking off another episode. We got the new TNA WWE partnership. Japan now all coming together as the one big united front. We're going to talk about that. We got a What Are the Odds segment this week. This week in wrestling history as well. And also the current title picture for the World Heavyweight belt in WWE. Jey Uso leading the way. You're going to do the dance? You got to do the dance. You do that dance or no? Michael Cole does that dance pretty well.
Yeet? You want me to yeet?
Yeah, do it. No.
No, I will
You
not
walk
be
around.
Caught, I will not be caught dead yeeting, sir.
Plus, where we are right now, we're Royal Rumble a week away, all in this episode this week. Before we get started, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's jump right into it. WWE and TNA announcing a partnership right after our video dropped last week on Friday, talking about how they're now going to allow the rosters to go back and forth. It seems like, between TNA Impact and NXT. They didn't mention SmackDown or Raw, so it doesn't sound like they're going on those shows.
It's mainly NXT. They said a few of the main roster guys might go over.
I mean, I'll go first. I see nothing wrong with this. I mean, why not? I mean, you look at what Tony's doing or AEW, adding all those different type of. I mean, why not? Why not take TNA, WWE? They're both doing their own thing, going up against AEW and their coalition of different things that he owns. Why not put them together and do a little bit of a partnership and collaborate on some content?
Yeah, I cut the shorter video earlier this week, doing more of a deep dive on the initial, notes and some of the consequences that came as a result of it. And ever since then, I've been trying to find like the downside, like where's the short end? Who's going to get shafted by this? And I'm really having a hard time coming up with anything. I mean, if you're sitting in WWE, no matter what level you're at, this is awesome. This is new exposure to new talent. If you are a more experienced guy in TNA, this is a chance to reconnect. We're going to talk in our next segment, what are the odds, about some potential fantasy booking that we can do here. I mean, it's a really deep opportunity to explore some things. This makes Royal Rumble very interesting. Dan, last week you said, or was it 2 weeks ago, you were like, I don't know, how many surprises could they possibly have? Well, this opens up
they have a whole new roster now.
Series of opportunities for surprises. I think the one question mark that I kind of had, and this is based off of some news that recently broke regarding sort of the management structure at TNA. TNA doesn't really know what they're doing, the management structure. At least that's what we're hearing.
Yeah, since Scott D'Amore was forced out, the people who took over, they don't know the wrestling business.
And so I'm wondering if this is going to improve conditions for the talent in the sense that WWE is going to have some influence and maybe provide some improvement. Maybe this is sort of the beginnings of like a buyout or something like that, where WWE comes in and takes over, kind of like they did with WCW. Or is this going to be a situation where we're just going to see the whole thing get flubbed from the TNA side because they don't know the business, they don't know the market, they don't know what they're doing. So,
well, see, that's kind of my concern, is that they're just going to become another WWE clone, another WWE feeder system, and TNA is going to completely lose their identity. They're just going to be TNA in name only.
I mean, you got big-time talent sitting on TNA right now. I'm thinking about Nick Nemeth. I'm thinking about Josh Alexander. I'm thinking about Moose. I'm thinking about my boy Speedball Mike Bailey. I mean, these are guys that could be on main show WWE-type talent, and they're going to be on NXT. That does a lot for NXT, which is the brand that they're really trying to grow right now. It just got buried in CW, so, they need to find some way to bring it back. I think that this whole situation with bringing The Rock on, like they're trying to give NXT a boost. I just don't know. I don't know what it's going to do for TNA. Is it going to pull a lot of eyes into TNA seeing Joe Hendry go head-to-head? Is he going to get a big push? I don't know.
I don't think TNA itself is going to change. Like, I don't think WWE is going to have much influence on how they do their content and how they do their writing. I don't think they should change either. I think TNA should still be TNA and WWE should still be WWE. I think where these two are going to benefit is when WWE needs a filler, a surprise, a change, at Pop, they can bring someone over from TNA and hop in. All of a sudden, you got a unique storyline, and vice versa to TNA. Someone who probably, let's say WWE is getting a little backed up on their roster. TNA has some injuries. Well, we can send a few of you over to TNA, and we can help get some excitement over there. Get those guys a pop and have them start, getting some, some traction and stuff like that. I mean, I think having the rosters going back and forth is the main purpose here. I don't think WWE's gonna have much influence on, hey, this is how you should be doing things, and I don't think TNA is gonna want to be like, we don't want you telling us what to do anyway. I think it's gonna be more the rosters can go back and forth, and they can feed off of that excitement of wrestlers going from one to the other, because that's what's gonna happen. I mean,
do you think we're going to see real talent from WWE go over to TNA television?
One or two examples.
Yeah, once in a great while.
But, I mean, do you think,
But
let's say the NXT champion is going to go over for a match?
Oh, NXT, absolutely. I mean, I thought you were talking like Seth Rollins or somebody like that. That is a little...
Cena.
Oh, boy.
So that ties in. So it's right after winning the belt at Genesis this weekend, Joe Hendry, who went over to NXT multiple times after winning the belt from Nick Nemeth, said, I got my eye on John Cena.
John Cena will make one. I mean, that's all it takes. That's all I need. 1 or 2 appearances on TNA. John Cena's retiring. What does he care? I mean, it's like, hey, we're go pop over, do a quick visit. It's 1 or 2 little things.
John
like
Cena
that.
wins the TNA belt.
I doubt that. I highly
There's
doubt
going to
that.
be one example. There's going to be one major example of WWE winning or showing up over there. It's going to be, I don't know who it's going to be. There'll be one example of it to really show.
Pay-per-view. They're going to save it for a pay-per-view.
To really show that this is a partnership and we're willing to send people over. But I think it's going to be more TNA showing up on WWE.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of
but
that,
I do
yeah.
think WWE will do some stuff to TNA when they need it.
Nick Nemeth will change his name back to Dolph Ziggler, and he'll be a WWE
I think
guy.
it's going to be a surprise in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. I think surprise is the wrong word. He just dropped the title, so this is the perfect opportunity. So we'll get to that in the next segment, though, for what are the odds. Let's jump across the pond really quick here and talk about what's going on in Japan. This is some news that broke just in the past day or two. Very interesting stuff if you're into that international wrestling scene. So I'm going to read them off right now. Sort of the 7, I think, biggest promotions over
10
in
altogether
Japan.
so far.
All Japan Pro Wrestling, Big Japan Pro Wrestling, DDT Pro Wrestling, Dragon's Gate. How do you say that?
Ganbar.
Ganbar, sorry. Ganbar Pro Wrestling, Kyushu Pro Wrestling, NJPW, Noah, Stardom, and Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling are all sort of combining and creating this new entity called UJPW, United Japan Pro Wrestling. It's basically a loose federation you kind of talked about.
It's kind of like the old NWA, just all the promotions working together.
Which is cool. There's 7 requirements. They're mostly financial and stuff that you or I aren't really going to care too much about. But I think for me, the biggest question mark is, because it seems like this is primarily something that's designed to sort of create stability with the organizations, allow them to interchange talent much easier, allow them to hold events together much easier, which is all good stuff. But I think my question is, like, what impact, like, okay, so are they going to unify titles? Are they going to have their individual titles? Are they going, like, what are the consequences storyline wise?
That's not what it sounds like. It's not going to be an actual wrestling company.
There was an NWA championship dating all the way back.
Yeah.
So are they going to create a new title?
I mean, it's possible. Japan does love their titles. New Japan has like 15
like
different titles.
Them,
yeah. Specifically, though, this is coming from Ringside News. What they're saying is it's a non-profit organization. It's not going to be about making money. It's focused on governance, transparency, and industry growth. The 4 major goals are introducing more people to pro wrestling and elevating its status in society, expanding charity efforts, including continued support for Noto earthquake survivors, bringing more international attention to Japanese wrestling culture to drive tourism, and doubling the size of the Japanese wrestling industry within the next decade. So it doesn't sound like they're going to be all that involved in storylines or championships or anything, but just promoting wrestling in general.
So let me ask. So
Doubling. That's
in the
huge.
next decade, yeah.
That's huge.
As someone who doesn't know this that much, maybe this is a question out there to ask. These companies, they're not closing down. They're still gonna be running their
Nope.
own things. They're more basically coming together as like a federation
Yes.
in which they
It sounds
that's
like
what I
they'll
would call
support each other. Again, in
Right.
this article, it says the idea was inspired by the struggles the industry faced during the pandemic. So they're going to build these companies up, but like you said, the requirements, these companies had to have been open for at least 2 years.
2 years,
And
$320,000 in annual revenue. They have to be set up as a corporation
So-
and they only have to have one contracted talent at a time. I mean, the bar is pretty low. The bar
and it
is
says
really
new
low.
other companies can join if they meet the criteria.
So, and I think this is great for development talent. I mean, if you are just a rinky-dink promotion, barely getting by, barely squeaking by the last 2 years, and you hit those relatively modest thresholds, financially speaking, I mean, you can really ride the coattails of an NJPW or a Stardom or one of the more successful promotions over there in Japan. So, for some reason, I don't know why, it seems like everybody's holding hands and singing Kumbaya right now, whether it be over in Japan or.
I mean,
here in
I
the
think
US.
it's got to be some sort of response to the WWE TNA partnership, or even the partnerships that AEW has established over the years.
Yeah, what impact does that have? I mean, are we going to see more Japan-related talent at like a Forbidden Door type event? Are we going to see more TNA talent? Or sorry, are we going to see more AEW talent across the pond? I mean, those close relationships create opportunities.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
it could be a response, too, to Triple H has always said he wants to go into Japan, have an NXT Japan. So maybe this is them saying, no, we're doing our own thing. WWE, stay away.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Let us know down below what you think. This is probably the biggest news of the week. I think that who do you want to see from WWE go over to TNA if you're a TNA fan?
Or vice versa.
And vice versa, I think, which is what we're going to see a lot more of this week. So let us know down below. All right, we're trying a new segment this week. We've been experimenting with some new segments. Pretty good so far, so I thought we'd test the limits here. This new segment is called What Are the Odds? So we're going to talk about... Don't look up like you can't see it. It's there.
I was looking for the wording. When you said that.
It's there. Okay, you can see the subtitles. So what are we going to do? So we're going to talk about some potential fantasy booking opportunities here in the next, let's say, couple of weeks, maybe through Royal Rumble, maybe a little bit beyond. And we're going to talk about, first of all, what we think the odds are of that happening. And second of all, whether we think it's a good idea or a bad idea. So we're going to do this rapid fire, back and forth real quick here.
Oh, boy.
So this is primarily related to the TNA WWE. So we got Jordan Grace versus Rhea Ripley in a match. What do we think?
Sure.
What do
Why
you
not?
think? Is it likely? Is it
Very.
unlikely? And do you want to see it?
It's very likely. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Yeah. That would be a good... I could see that at a WrestleMania match.
As a WrestleMania match? We
Not,
see TNA
not main
talent,
event. Not main event, but...
TNA talent on a WrestleMania show? That would be pretty crazy. How about Joe
She's
Hendry?
done with TNA now, so...
How about Joe Hendry versus Drew McIntyre? This is one that's just been pitched. This wouldn't be my pick.
I'm almost positive that happened on the Indies before
Sure.
Drew
I'm sure,
came
yeah.
back.
I don't
sure
think they need to. I don't think it's. I think they got enough talent to go up against Drew McIntyre.
This is one that I definitely am excited about that I think we could see on TNA television. Chad Gable versus Moose.
Ooh, that would be good.
That would be a really good
I'm not
match,
opposed
I
to that.
think. I think that would be one where I'd be okay seeing it on TNA
So
television.
the odds are good for that one.
I would say good and good.
Can
on
I
both
add one?
fronts. Sure.
What are the odds that a WWE wrestler becomes TNA champion to help promote the brand?
I think that is a huge risk on TNA's part.
Well, they did it with
Huge
AEW.
risk.
Kenny Omega and Christian were both TNA champion when they were still part of AEW, so it's a possibility.
I think it's a risk. They might give it to a guy like John Cena.
As long as
No,
that
and
wrestler obviously shows up on all TNA TNA shows. Like, you can't give the TNA belt to someone like Gable and then say, "Oh, we don't need you on the show."
No. They
mean-
wouldn't give it to a B guy. If
No,
I'm TNA,
I think it's a way of promoting the B guys too to give them the belt.
if I'm a TNA
Yeah, because
guy,
it's like an NXT at this point.
if I'm a TNA guy, I only want my world championship to be held by a top tier, high level Seth Rollins.
But
See,
again, like
type
we
guy.
mentioned before,
No,
the
no.
higher ups don't know how to run a wrestling company, so they'll just say yes to anything.
Maybe that might be the case. And if
No,
that's
no,
the
no,
case,
no.
TNA is going to get the short end of the stick. If Chad Gable is holding the world championship, TNA looks like shit.
Let me explain something. If I'm the president for TNA Wrestling, I'm happy with any WWE B-level superstar being my champion.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you want me to tell you why? First off, I can't expect if I could afford them, I would have an A guy on my show, but I can't afford them. So I'm happy with what I could, which is a B wrestler. You can't get Seth Rollins to be your team. You can't walk in with that expectation either. I would be happy with a Chad Gable, Xavier Woods, someone like that. Someone at the Miz. I mean, Miz. I would say more of a B, but you could argue he's an A. But like someone like that.
You say Xavier Woods, that actually makes sense in the storyline because he's an old TNA wrestler.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want anybody to hold the TNA World Championship belt that hadn't previously or could hold the WWE Championship. So, okay, Miz, he's held it. I would be okay with that, even though, yeah, he is like a B, maybe even kind of C level guy. He just kind of pops his head up every once in a while now. A guy like that wouldn't be so bad, but you just took the belt off Nick Nemeth. He has held the WWF Championship before. Like, you're really gonna take the shine off your belt if you end up giving it to Xavier Woods. I'm sorry, that's just
Austin
the way it is.
Theory.
Oh, there you go.
It's better than Xavier Woods.
Those type of
because
people,
he held at least the USA Championship.
those type of talents are the people who should be holding the TNA. Someone that can give it some legitimacy, but that's not an A guy. That can go over to WWE, or go to TNA, draw some crowds, but then also make it legitimate on WWE.
Yeah, I see Xavier Woods before Austin Theory.
I think it's a great way to put Austin Theory back in the storylines.
If this management team doesn't know about good business decisions, they aren't going to give a shit about Xavier Woods and his TNA background. So, just my opinion. All right, a couple more. Hardys versus anyone.
Yeah,
Hardys
they'll be
back on
they'll be
WWE.
back.
That would go over very well for a one-off. We don't want them in there long term.
No, there's a reason why they left. They don't need to come back.
Again, Dolph Ziggler versus anyone. Britt Baker's release. What are the odds of that? And
I
should
think
she go
that's
to WWE?
I think that's 50-50 at this point, Britt Baker. And I don't think she would go to WWE. I think she would go to like a TNA first.
I think everybody's being too quiet at this point. It's gone on too long. If everything was creamy copacetic, Tony would be right out front being like, no, this is just a misunderstanding. He's been too quiet for too long. This thing's got legs to it.
Like I said, I did a short news video on this topic earlier this week. There's definitely something to this. That's like you said, everyone's been way too quiet. Nobody's denying anything, but nobody's confirming anything. I don't think she's leaving just yet, and there's reports are her contract is still lasting for a while. I said in my video it could end up being like a Tessa Blanchard situation where she gets blackballed for a little while and then shows up a couple years down the road someplace else.
Yeah.
But I think it's 50-50 at this point.
Her reputation is that she's not really patient enough to do that, although she'd be treated like a queen at a place like TNA.
Right.
So the two balance each other out.
No room for her in WWE.
All right, one last one. Very interested in getting your feedback on this one. I read this one on X, and I had to add it last second here. Pat McAfee enters the Royal Rumble in Indianapolis. What are the odds of that?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, now let me follow up. Of course, this is where he played. He played for the Colts, so he'd get over great.
Oh, he's definitely.
He gets eliminated by a masked man who comes out of nowhere.
I see where you're going with it.
The man takes off the mask and it's
Corey
Graves.
Graves. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Now that right there is storytelling, my friend.
Is that he?
That's great. That is great.
I saw it and I thought I might give a shit about the commentators again. If that
I
happened.
think that's 80-20.
I'm going to say
the whole thing is 80-20.
Yeah.
I mean, you were totally going to see Pat McAfee in the ring.
Oh yeah, that's 100%.
That's 100%.
Corey Graves getting in, yeah, I think there's a good chance
Let's
of that.
recap this whole thing. First off, Pat McAfee in his home, definitely in. It's going to waste up a spot, and that's what WWE loves, is to waste up a spot for no reason.
Yeah.
And get a cheap pop and great. Adding to Corey Graves, we talked about this a little bit last week. It's legitimate. That's what right now, based off the facts and what everyone is promoting and saying, they're labeling it as legitimate. And I'm going to say this. I've said it 100 times. I'm going to keep saying it. This new game with Triple H, he likes to shock people, and he's good at it. He's a troll. He likes to trick everybody. Like when CM Punk came out for no reason at the end of the War Games. No reason. He didn't need to, but they shocked everyone and did it that way. Triple H likes doing things that bring a shock value and completely turns people one way and then comes out this way. I can 100% see A week and a half after this is all over, this whole Corey Graves thing being to work.
That whole masked
Or
guy
she,
elimination
whatever,
thing,
work.
very Attitude Era, in my opinion. Very Attitude Era.
I can see it.
Well, one thing's for sure is only time will tell, and we will find out in Indianapolis on February 2nd. So we'll see you there.
All right, boys, it's that time again. This week in wrestling history, I got 2 major items for you guys this week. First, we're going to go all the way back to 1963.
Oh, jeez.
Wrestling existed back then?
Oh, funny you should mention that. You should watch our Falls Count Anywhere episode on the history of pro
Ooh,
wrestling.
Deep cut. Deep cut. Put a tourniquet on that one.
So January 24th, 1963, Lou Thez defeated Buddy Rogers in Toronto, Ontario to win the NWA World Heavyweight title for the 3rd time.
Lou Thez.
The reason this match was important was because it directly led to the creation of the WWF in
How
April of 1963.
Oh.
So, Lou Thez wins the title. However, Northeast promoters refused to recognize the title change because it was done in a 1-fall match instead of the traditional 2 out of 3 falls. So the Northeastern promoters broke away from the NWA and formed the WWWF and crowned Buddy Rogers as their original champion.
The Wide World Wrestling Federation?
Worldwide Wrestling Federation. Yep.
Right, worldwide.
Vince McMahon Sr. was the promoter with Toots Mom.
Wait a minute. So Vince McMahon Sr. was upset that they didn't do a 2 out of 3 falls, and so he basically rebelled with some of the other Northeastern promoters?
Yep.
Wow.
And that led to the creation of the WWF.
That is very interesting.
But that initial match happened on this day in 1963.
Which promotion hosted the event that had the 1 fall?
Doesn't say. It was just
But it was
NWA.
But it was in Toronto.
Yep.
Huh. Wow.
The other major thing that happened this week in 1984, on January 23rd, the birth of Hulkamania.
Oh, yes.
Hulkamania officially
With
begins
the,
when Hulk Hogan defeated
the
the
Sheik.
Iron Sheik. Yep,
The
and win
Sheik.
the WWF
What's going
Championship.
on, brother?
Things that are still relevant 42 years later.
Oh yeah, he's been
You
in
know,
the
I've
news
met
lately, right?
Hulk Hogan. He's been into our store before,
This store?
down in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
That's
You met
right,
the
you
Hulkster,
mentioned
huh?
Did I tell you the story before?
No.
He walked into we used to have a store in Clearwater, Florida, where he's located.
Yeah.
And he came into our store in the Countryside Mall, and he walked in, and I had my back to him, and I walked in, I turned around, and he goes, "Hey, brother!" I swear to God, he goes, "Hey, brother!" And he goes, "I'm looking for the classic NES," and I'm like right over here, and I was like, I was in shell shocked. I couldn't believe it. I got a photo. I can pull it up.
What year was this?
2016.
Did he pay full price?
He didn't buy it.
You couldn't sell the Hulkster?
You ready for the kicker? You ready for the kicker? He wouldn't let me take a picture either.
Oh no, you
How
got to
did
pay
you
for
get a
that, brother.
picture?
So when he left the store, I said, "Fuck that!" And I went out into the hallway and sniped it from
Security camera.
I had to have proof. I mean, you can't walk around the store and say that. and
Okay,
not
but
have-
let me just walk me through it. So you're like, "Oh, I'm such a fan. Can I get a picture?"
Oh no! And I said, "Oh yeah, I was sales Dan. First off, I'm always business behind the counter, Jeremy. Okay, it's business or so.
Hear that? No funny business.
So I was selling it to him. He goes, "Oh no, I appreciate it. I'll have to come back. Something like that. I'll have to come back, or thanks. I appreciate you for telling me." And then I go, "Hey, do you mind if I grab a picture?" He goes, "Oh, sorry, brother, can't do that. I'll be granting him all day long if I did that, something like that." And he turned around and he walked out.
Yeah,
And I was
you got
like,
to pay
"Oh."
for that.
And I was, well, that's what I think he kind of implied that you had to pay for it, which I would have. Hey, I would have given him a couple bucks. Here's $100, pal. I just want a picture of you in my store. But he left, and I was like, grabbed my phone. Of course, I couldn't find it, so I'm looking all over for it. Grabbed it, ran. I had to run around the counter, sprinted out, and I grabbed him up, talking with a bunch of people up in the hallway.
You gotta make that plan in your head. Like, okay, what if I give it to you for free? I just want to hang your picture, whatever. But
It
wow,
was
that's
happening.
interesting.
It was all happening too quickly.
That's interesting.
But I did meet him.
Wow, Dan met the Hulkster. All right, moving on.
Got a couple birthdays for you. Guess the ages. January 23rd, Nigel McGuinness. How old is he?
92.
He doesn't watch AEW.
Is there a different Nigel
I'm
McGuinness?
joking.
Nigel McGuinness is 45.
Close, 48.
I was gonna guess
That's
50.
a name that would be someone that's pretty old.
I was gonna
Sorry.
Nigel.
Nigel? Do you know too many Nigels that are 30 or
The
25
only Nigel
and
I
40?
know is Nigel Thornberry, and I don't know how old he is. He's ageless.
January 24th, Vince Russo, your buddy. How old is he?
Oh, he's got to be retirement age, 66, 65?
62.
64.
Ooh.
Close.
64.
And finally, Ray Ferris, better known as the Honky Tonk Man. How old's the Honky Tonk Man? His birthday's on the 25th.
Wait a minute. He's still living?
He's still alive? Yeah.
The Honky Tonk Man has got to be 80?
Oh, I was going to go like 74.
72.
Oh, wow.
God.
Yep.
Within
Dude,
4.
everybody aged differently back then. I'm like looking. I just saw a couple
Honky
of,
Tonk Man is not that old.
I saw a couple of videos of him from back in the day, and I'm like pegging him like 40 in those videos, but he's got to be in his like early 30s. Man, people age differently now than they did back then.
Comment down below. Let us know what your favorite wrestling history factoid may be.
And let us know if it's your birthday.
We'll send you a cake.
All right, guys, on to the World Heavyweight picture. Jeremy, you and I talked about this a little bit last week, where WWE is going with the World Heavyweight Championship, that Gunther is getting a little stale. So right now we seem to have a little bit of a storyline going with Gunther and Jey Uso with the Yeet.
Is it him getting stale, or is it him not getting pushed?
Well, do you want to chime in? I mean, what do you think? We both think that he's. I mean, my opinion was they wasted a title run when he was Intercontinental, and people just feel it's the same title. He just has a belt. I mean, he's just champion.
Yeah. Well, I've said it since they introduced the World Heavyweight Championship. It's always been the secondary title. They just don't push anyone who has it.
Do you think Gunther is making a difference with the belt, or no?
No, not at all. But I think that could change if they actually gave him some real storylines.
This does not represent a push. Jey Uso, being the number one contender,
Yeah, agreed.
is not putting that belt over.
No.
Especially when he's on Raw, and there's some amazing talent on Raw, and it's all getting used in other areas. You got Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Those are three guys that could easily make some great pushes for that title and really put the shine on it, and instead, they're circle jerking over here, doing this completely, totally non-title related thing. Meanwhile, Gunther's trying to prop himself up.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, he doesn't even have his stable anymore, right? I mean, Imperium's basically gone.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I don't even know what they're doing. I'm not sure why they're letting the title hang out to dry when you got three great opportunities right there, not counting some of the other time. I mean, those are just the three quick ones that come to mind.
This is a classic. They're wasting time. Okay, Jey Uso is getting a heavy push. The crowd, this whole Michael Cole out dancing in the middle of the
Yeet
ring
thing is going
I
over,
mean,
and I don't
the
get it.
whole
Yeah.
Travis Scott thing on the first night of Netflix. They obviously got some momentum going here with Jey Uso. Why not take advantage of it to waste up some time? Here's what's going to happen, in my opinion. This is going to be a classic. They don't want the belt on Gunther anymore, right? Jey Uso is getting a push. They're going to slap the belt on Jey Uso for a week, a month, and he's going to get crushed by somebody. Because Jey Uso shouldn't have the belt. It's going to be the classic, let's prop up the resumes. Let's remember how Drew McIntyre had it for an hour or 10 minutes and lost the belt. It's going to be one of those situations. I don't know when, I don't know where, but he's going to win the belt. He'll have it for a very, very short amount of time. Then he's going to get crushed by someone that's going to lead to a major storyline at WrestleMania.
You know who
I
could
don't
crush
think.
him?
What's that?
You know who could crush him?
Drew McIntyre?
A returning Brock Lesnar.
Something's going to happen where Jey Uso will have the belt for because it's going to promote him as a former World Heavyweight Champion. It's going to give him that recognition for a little bit, and then he will get crushed. And the two people who they really want for the title will be at WrestleMania.
All right, so what do we got? We've got...
Does anyone have the briefcase right now? No.
I was going to say, we've got Money in the Bank now. Yeah, the briefcase got used.
That's what I thought.
But no one has it right now.
Yeah, we got Money in the Bank between now and WrestleMania. We've got Elimination Chamber in February between now and then.
I don't know.
So-
Money in the Bank's after WrestleMania. That's in like June.
What's the March?
Elimination Chamber?
Elimination Chamber's
Chamber's in
February.
February. There isn't a March because WrestleMania is April.
No,
Well, I guess WrestleMania is early April, but still.
Isn't there like a fast lane?
I thought they had like a B or C level show.
There's a very, very low level pay-per-view like in so you have Royal Rumble end of January. Then you have it may not be.
February.
I don't
It's
think there
February
is.
this year. And you know what? It's because it's early February this year, so I'll bet you Elimination Chamber is going to be in March, and then WrestleMania is going to be in April. So
Royal
you
Rumble.
really only have one opportunity.
Elimination Chamber is March 1st.
Okay, so then that's it.
That's it,
The
yeah.
way the dates fell. So yeah, and the reason I didn't actually think that they had Money in the Bank, I thought that there was a second one, and I'm like, well, if you're going to have one, you should have Money in the Bank, so that the briefcase is hanging over everybody's head.
Right
But
there. I could see him winning it somehow and then losing it at Elimination
Jey Uso?
Chamber. Jey Uso. He'll lose at Elimination Chamber, and it won't be his fault, and they'll get it off of him. Now, those two, they don't want Gunther or Jey Uso in their time, but those are two guys they can work with right now until whoever they want gets moved up into the
What
storyline.
happens next with Gunther though? Because you take the belt off him, he just came off of basically a big break. He wins the title belt. You do nothing with him. He drops it to Jey Uso. He's got no stable, no storyline, no nothing. I mean, what are you gonna without ending any of the other major storylines that we think are going to continue all the way through to WrestleMania? What do you do with the guy?
His storyline's complete. I mean, look. I mean, and I'm not trying.
His career's over. Retire, Gunther.
I'm
His career's
not,
over.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying. Like,
You're in your
I've
prime.
noticed
That's
with-
what I mean. I don't think it's stale. I think they're just not pushing him.
No, in my opinion, I'm not trying to profile any of these wrestlers or anything, but I think when you talk about the big wrestlers like Big Show, and you talk about Braun Strowman, Gunther, they can't go that far with storylines. Like they're great as heels, and then they destroy people for the leading up to the belt, and then when they get the belt, once they get the belt. And Gunther's been able to make it work a lot longer than people like Braun Strowman and Big Show, but now that he's had the title for what? Combined with Intercontinental, how long has it been?
A
3
long
years?
ass time because the IC title. was on
he's
him.
done. Like
Yeah,
there's
600 plus.
there's really nothing more for him to do now. And unfortunately he's one of those type of talents where I don't know what you do after. Like, what do you do with him? You redo the storyline again, where he goes starts and he crushes people again, and makes his way back up. I don't know what you do with him. They really don't have any other storyline besides just crushing people.
You were talking up the final boss gimmick that The Rock had going on. You thought that was really great. Well, in my mind, Gunther had that down prior. He would send his little Imperium minions out, and they would have little matches, and there'd be interference, and they'd be working the heel angle, and he became the final boss. And then he won the IC title, and he retained that for a little while. For a little while, he kept that.
666 days.
No. I mean, the final boss aspect of it, he kept
yeah.
it for a little while. But then Imperium broke apart, and some great wrestlers started trying to make names for themselves, Kaiser, and
Maybe they bring the group back.
he doesn't really have a gimmick anymore. He needs to rediscover that identity or create a new
and they
one
can't follow
for himself.
they can't copy the bloodline.
But
where
you're right. I mean,
his group falls apart, and he's got to win them back, and they
right
can't
now,
really do that.
He's got no stable. The whole ring general gimmick thing has just the air has just completely come out of it. It's totally deflated. Ring general of what? You're standing by yourself. I think they really need to seriously consider revisiting.
TNA.
They should have never broken up Imperium. TNA, he would
TNA.
destroy
He is
everybody.
a really
But you know what?
big talent.
Send them over there. That can give him 6 months of storylines over there.
I don't know. That's an awful lot of investment.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it would harken back to his indie days when he was destroying everybody.
If he drops
He's
drop
gonna
the
drop.
title.
We all know he's gonna drop.
Fine. You think he's gonna? Let's say he drops the title.
You think it's
Then
gonna
he
be
goes
Jey
to-
Uso?
Okay, let's start right here. Do you see him as a champion at WrestleMania? Going into WrestleMania,
See,
Gunther.
him who? Gunther?
Is he champion at WrestleMania?
I could
Yes.
see that.
Yeah, I can
I
see
don't
him
think he
keeping
will
it till
be.
then.
I could see that.
I think this Jey Uso feud is a filler until the next
It's
guy
definitely
who's
a
going to
filler
be the
for sure.
WrestleMania guy.
I think it's just a filler to get rid of both of them. Ultimately, is what my opinion.
I mean, it could be John Cena who faces him at Mania. It could be a returning Lesnar who faces Gunther at Mania.
But again, if John Cena is beating Gunther at WrestleMania,
I
then
don't think
Gunther's
he's gonna
done.
beat him.
I mean, so what are you walking into? Had John Cena lose it?
Well, I think it's the
I
same
mean-
thing if he goes to TNA. I mean, if you have him drop the title to Jey Uso, and then you have him disappear to TNA and have a whole bunch of 50-50 matches, you just cut the balls off of your champion. That's what you just did. You just took the ring general, the guy that held the IC title for 666 days, and you neutered him. So they've really painted themselves into a corner. Unless they got some ace hit up their sleeve with some surprise comeback that nobody expects, or some incredible storyline that nobody sees coming or whatever.
Well,
I just don't.
I think they're they have the same problem they've always had, is they don't build up enough guys to be world title contenders. I mean, you look at guys like Finn Balor, who's floundering in the tag division. You got guys, like you said, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, who are just circling each other for months and months and months, and they have nobody else that's built up to that point that could credibly face them.
Damian Priest.
Well, see, here, I disagree with
But
that.
he already
I
did.
think
That's
they.
what I
I think the
mean.
problem is they have too many right now. I mean, let's be honest with you. Seth Rollins makes a great World Heavyweight Champion. CM Punk is going to make a great World Heavyweight Champion. Finn Balor can make a great World Heavyweight Champion. Damian Priest just was champion, but he can make another great one. Kevin Owens, great World Heavyweight Champion.
Well, that's
so you
what
have
I'm
all
saying.
these guys that are good, and now what do you do with
But
Gunther?
they're the guys that can be used, they're not using.
Right. And what do you do with Gunther? I mean, it's one of those, like, I think he's hit that peak. He's on the decline right now. There's nothing more to do with Gunther.
And
He's had a belt for combined now between both he's been involved, let's say, in the title picture for about 800 days in a row.
over 2 years. I think the problem, I think you might be right. The tough situation that WWE is put in is this is when you normally give a guy a break. You'd send him out to the pasture for a couple of months, but he just came off the pasture, and then he won the title, and now he's been holding it, and they've been doing nothing
What
with
did they
him.
do with Charlotte Flair? She wins the title, has it for a while, loses it, and leaves. Has a title, come back, wins
Well,
it. I mean, that's what Charlotte Flair's
She keeps getting
schedule
injured
is.
and then divorced and then remarried and then injured again.
I'm telling you right now, I could see Gunther losing the belt and going to do a stint over at TNA. Maybe building up a new group.
That would be amazing for TNA. That would be very bad for WWE.
I don't.
WWE 'd be getting the short end.
I think it's good for both of them.
That
They
would
take a
definitely-
superstar that they're burying right now and then go use them over at TNA.
But he's not going to be. You're not going to.
That's
He's not
what the
going to
part-
come back better than he
that's
left.
what the partnership is going to be right there.
He's not going to come back better than he left if you do that with him. TNA is not going to build up a WWE guy unless you send a guy like Gable, a guy like Xavier Woods, a mid-level guy.
If there's no purpose in WB for them at that moment, they can go do something at TNA.
You have to be able to do something different with Gunther. You're wasting good talent. You're blowing it.
The problem is they got two belts. They just know. I mean, we're gonna take it off of Cody. I mean, we talked about this last week. They got to start rotating the belt around. This whole habit for 2 years, a year, it makes no sense.
Especially if you're
It
gonna.
doesn't.
If it's going to be a Universal Championship, it has to move. You can't call it the Universal Championship and have it only stay on one brand.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Hey, let us know what you think down below on who you think should be in the World Heavyweight picture. Is Gunther going to leave? Is Jey Uso going to win the belt? Let us know down below. Okay, guys, after the World Heavyweight discussion, we're jumping into what's going on with the Royal Rumble and where we're at right now. A week and a half away. This is the first conversation of many in the next 10 days about what happens here at the Royal Rumble. We're about 10 days away. Where are we right now? What do you guys think? Who do we? What are we looking at? What do we feel is the general? When we watch the shows right now, you always can kind of get a general idea. Like John Cena, for example, right? They're already kind of pitching Cena's going to get in it. Is he going to win it? Bring him to the WrestleMania in its final year. Like what are we looking at?
They're definitely putting way more effort into the men's Rumble than the women's at this point.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Let me start by just saying, as of this recording, this is who has been officially announced as an entrant in the 2025 Royal Rumble. We have Roman Reigns, John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Mr. Yeet himself, Jey Uso, LA Knight, and Rey Mysterio.
And Sami Zayn.
And Sami Zayn just got added. So
you got Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens in the main event, so they're not in it.
I think one of my first questions is, do we think one of these men is going to win? Has the winner been announced already?
I think it's going to be down to Cena or Punk.
Now, Punk has never won, right?
No.
And Cena's won twice.
He might have, actually. Let me check.
I don't think CM Punk has won.
I don't think so either, but...
But if he wins, what, he's going to go after Cody?
I think everybody's going to go after Cody, except for maybe Cena, who might go after Gunther.
Yeah, and I don't know.
No, he has not won a Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Okay.
So based off what you just said with those, I think I'm at the thing now where when you put together the storyline for WWE, I think WWE. I would hope they've learned by now that when they force feed a storyline, it doesn't go over well. So they're already doing that with John Cena. If people start to get a whiff of 25 men in and John Cena's winning, they're going to get booed like hell at the end of that show. People don't like that. They don't like it when they're forced a storyline. Okay, so I don't see John Cena winning. I think they're teasing it. I think it's a great story to tease. I think he's going to win it in a more exciting way and a chance to whatever down the road. I don't think it's the Royal Rumble. So that leaves me with two. I don't think CM Punk's going to win it. I don't think Seth Rollins is going to win it. I think they'll go on to do something down the road, maybe Elimination Chamber. It leads two people that I think are going to win the Royal Rumble right now. Roman Reigns
and The Rock.
And The Rock. One of those two are winning the Royal Rumble. I think they're already teasing. They can go down that. What I saw them put into the Cody Rhodes storyline was a lot. And I do think there's a chance that they could sell a third match in a row of Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And now the storyline is Roman Reigns is fighting his way, doing his story to retain the glory and the belt. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know if you guys have watched the shows, Roman Reigns is getting more cheers than Cody Rhodes. The crowd is cheering OTC a lot.
Yeah,
they're
because
not cheering Cody Rhodes. They're cheering OTC.
It's because they're foiling him against the new blood, I guess is what they're calling it or whatever.
But on Raw, they were cheering him pretty well. So I think right now I'm down to The Rock and Roman Reigns, and I'm going to the bank with that, pals.
Is The Rock announced, or is he a surprise entrant?
Oh, surprise! They're not announcing something like
He'll
that.
He'll be number 30.
I think.
No. I think he's number 31, and he's going to come out and say, as a board member, I'm just throwing myself into the match.
I think if John Cena comes in like after number 20, he's going to win. If he comes in at number 6 and he's all hustle, loyalty, and respect, I'm going to go the distance. I don't think so.
I think he'll get down to the final 4 at the very least.
Yeah. I think he'll get down there.
He'll get carried there.
But I don't think he'll go over. I don't see him going over.
Besides
being in there for an hour and 15 minutes or whatever,
no,
he's going to have
not.
to. Like,
besides The Rock, do you see any other surprise entrants for the men's Rumble?
Nick Nemeth.
Yep. Brock Lesnar.
I could see Moose.
I could see it. Time's done. I mean, look, you say what you want to say about Vince McMahon.
I just don't think it's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think
if he shows up, everyone would expect him to win.
Here's the thing. He will fucking barrel through everybody. Remember what was it? 2 Royal Rumbles ago?
13
He
people.
eliminated like a gajillion and was just sitting in the ring waiting.
Mm-hmm. Let's go through the situation.
Oh, Joe Hendry. He'll be in it for sure.
Joe Hendry, for
Vince
sure.
McMahon sounds like he's been cleared of all the criminal stuff. I think that's all WWE cares about. So now that that's been somewhat cleared and moved out of the way, I think it opens the door now to Brock Lesnar coming in. The facts are done.
Brock Lesnar. I thought you were going to say Vince McMahon.
No, the civil lawsuits, those are different. Criminal-wise, it seems like they're all been put to the side. Whatever the case may be, they're all put to the side, looks like. I think in TKO, WWE's mindset, now that the criminal stuff's been put aside, Brock Lesnar never really came up in that. I think it opens the door now for Brock to come and show up, and I think it will be Royal Rumble. He's my surprise.
He could return, but I think it would be better for him to come back at an Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, show up at the end like Punk did.
Or even just like be a mystery entrant to the Elimination Chamber or something and do it like that. Or, I mean, F it. Have him come back on a Monday night and then just force himself in. I think all that would be better than to have him come in at number 16 or whatever you're going to do.
But serious question for you two, okay? It's not Roman Reigns. It's not The Rock. And I'll say it's not John Cena. Who is it?
Punk.
It's Punk.
Punk, you think?
He has never won.
He's never won.
I mean, think about all these other guys.
WrestleMania main event.
Rollins, I mean, like McIntyre's had his WrestleMania moment. Even Rey Mysterio won the Royal Rumble in 2006. So, I mean,
if you take all those people out, the only one I could possibly see is like a Sami Zayn, maybe.
I don't. I would say CM Punk is a far distant fourth.
No, not.
And I think John Cena is a far distant third. I'll tell you now, Roman Reigns and The Rock, in my opinion, are head to head. It could be either one of them.
You're putting so many eggs in the Rock basket.
Seriously.
You want me to tell you what? I still have some hope. And
Because he's the final boss.
I still have some hope, and that was such a great storyline that they were developing that I think there's something to it. And I do think, I said it, and I'll keep saying it, it's the third time tonight, Triple H is a troll, and he loves to do this stuff where he purposely goes out of his way to completely trick the viewers and keep them on their feet.
Okay.
And it's working. It's working.
So let me say this. So in writing, we have a trope that we call the Deus Ex Machina, okay? And it's a cheat code. Okay, it's considered very bad writing when you do this, and it's your hero is in an issue that they can't get out of, and death is imminent, and then all of a sudden this magical thing happens. This the gods come down, a machine of the gods comes down and swoops in and saves them. If The Rock comes in as Entrant 31, that is the equivalent of a Deus Ex Machina. Mm-hmm. It's forcing something into the plot that shouldn't be there. It's going to rip everybody out of kayfabe. It's going to... It's not going to...
If he's going to use his board of, chairman of the board powers, he would just say, I'm having a match at Mania.
No, that's just too easy. It's going to be a thing where everyone's going to think it's over. And then chaos and controversy creates cash. Okay, Eric Bischoff, love the book, love the title, and it means it. His music is gonna hit. He's gonna come down to the ring. He can start barking out orders. People and the viewers are gonna go, "What the hell is going on?" It's gonna lead to people being confused, and The Rock just throwing himself in as the final boss. That's the type of storylines that make WWE so good the last year, and they pissed it down. I'm not gonna get going. I'm not gonna go on it again. I went on it before. I'm limited on the hope that he's returning at Royal Rumble to finish the storyline that he's been doing, and I think those are the two options right now.
I don't see it. I can't.
There's only 4 options. Let's be serious. There's only 4 options. CM Punk, he's way off, but he's the 4th. John Cena, way off. He's the 3rd. And then the Roman Reigns and The Rock. There's really no one outside that top 4 that's walking out of their Royal Rumble winner.
We're going to have to make sure to put a camera on you when number 30 comes out and it's not The Rock.
Well, you got to give me like 10 minutes after that in case the 31 hits.
31 hits 10 minutes after number 30 hits?
I'm reading the rumor mills, Jeremy, and they're saying 31. The Rock's going to force himself in.
I have not seen these rumors.
That would be very bad storytelling.
Well, I'm real deep in the Rock chat.
Now, hang on. If they do a red herring,
it's called fanfic.
If they do a gotcha where he comes out at 31 and then loses, that's a gotcha. If he comes out at 31 and then just does like a Santino Morelli,
that just ruins it. Then why do 31? That just ruins the whole thing.
That's the point.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, it's more like a psych. It's more like a gotcha type situation.
Okay, so real quick. Right now, 10 days away, who's your pick?
My pick is John Cena.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay with John Cena.
Yeah.
I think John Cena gets a real WrestleMania moment.
We'll see if these change next week when we're talking.
Cena's won like twice, right? Already?
Yeah, at least one.
Otherwise, how does he shoehorn himself?
Now we're going to give as much attention to the Women's Rumble that WWE is giving them. Who's winning that? With 2 people announced at this point, Bayley and Nia Jax.
I think Charlotte Flair might win.
I was gonna say I'm with Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair.
Becky Lynch has been very busy lately with movies and like other stuff.
She's cleared to come back. She has a contract.
She's cleared to come back. But
I mean, come on, Jeremy. She's definitely showing up at the Royal Rumble.
I get the impression that
that's what you're saving her for.
I get the impression that she's not going to be back like long term though. That she's still busy doing stuff.
I'm gonna say Alexa Bliss.
She'll be Final 4.
Do we think all 3 of them show up at the Royal Rumble?
I don't know about Becky, but I think Flair and Bliss definitely.
Flair and Bliss, for sure, yeah. Alexa Bliss, yeah, she's coming back. They're already doing merch and stuff for her, so.
And they've cut promos for Flair.
Yeah, she's so I think they're both for sure going to be back. I would love to see Alexa Bliss go over. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, let us know down below who you think 10 days away right now. Who do you think is your lock for the Royal Rumble winners, both men and women? Obviously, that can change before we hit the actual event. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe down below. I heard we had some comments last week.
Yes, some very supportive.
I heard we had a troll, and Mr. Jeremy didn't reply. This guy's been banned from Max like 6 times for attacking people, and you let this guy talk shit on our thing?
I'm so badass, I get immediately suspended from IG when I try and register. That's how infamous my name is. I can't even get on IG. So, thanks, Zuck. Listen. I don't want to come down too hard on people. Like I want to make people fans. I want to convert people. I want people to say, I believe
That's
in
why
Jeremy
we have
Boratt.
all this killer production.
Deep down, I think he's dying to go after that guy. He's like,
He'll cut a puppet promo this week on the guy.
You know what I really hate? All the haters.
all right, guys, make sure you subscribe down below. And until next week, see you later.